Yeah, but this will be a quick. This won't be a bad one. And you can text or whatever. Like it doesn't.
Okay.
All right, we're live in the knockout zone again. I have the People's Champion here, Colby Covington. I am super excited about this one. Everybody's been kind of waiting for me to get another MAGA guy on. Everybody knows my relationship with some mutual friends of ours, so I'm super excited to be in the knockout zone, going live, talking to Colby, getting into everything. And I know his time's limited because he's here to train, but I want to take a minute to thank the champ for coming on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
So thank all the sponsors, Onnit Nutrition, Kenzies Optics, Riton Optics, Taurus USA, Crossbreed Holsters, and of course Canic USA, and all the other manufacturers out there that support the podcast. Champ, MAGA.
That's right.
MAGA.
Chunk 2020, baby.
2020. So how did you get to this point, and how did you become such a Trump supporter and such a supporter of the country going in such a great direction with the Trumps, with the MAGA movement? How did you get to this point? How did it get to this?
Well, my family, I grew up in Oregon, and it's very liberal over there. So, growing up, my family was very conservative, and, they had right-leaning philosophies. And
Sure.
So I kind of already had, already believed in that, in the Republican and how they think and everything, their laws and their bills and everything that they do. But, I really like Trump, just his business. He's a business savvy man. He likes to win. He's like me. Most people are addicted to drugs and alcohol. Me and Donald Trump are addicted to winning. That's our drug of choice. So, I love everything Trump's been doing for the country. Hire more jobs, lower unemployment. Unemployment hasn't been this low since the 60s. So, I love everything about MAGA and Trump, and I'm all in for him.
So, Champ, you got a chance to go to the White House. What was that like?
Man, that was a surreal experience. Best day of my life. For as much fake news that CNN puts out about Trump, they don't really know the real person that he is outside of politics. He's actually a sit down, stand up, and just a regular guy. He's not just the president. He's a regular guy. He's a family man. He's a father. He's a grandfather. But he's also just a friend and a good person. He doesn't walk around like his shit don't stink. He's just a humble man. He's a genuine, real dude.
He's a New York taxi cab driver. I mean, that's kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got a chance to meet him, and I didn't get a chance to go to the White House like you, but I got a chance to meet him, and I was really surprised because it's such a process to meet him in the first place.
Yeah.
I know you go through in the White House, you go into a room, then you go into another room, and it is a process, but when you finally do get a chance to meet him, it is interesting. He does take a few minutes, and no matter how many people he meets, and I'm sure they all master this, but he has a deft touch of really kind of making you feel like you're the only person in the room for that few minutes, however much time you had. I know I had a few minutes with him, but it was really amazing to spend some time with him. So, hats off to you for being the first champ to go to the White House. I mean, that is official, so That's a huge accomplishment. But I'm super excited about having you here and getting a chance to meet you and spend some time with you yesterday because of all those things and how important all that is to you. But beyond that, I know you're super passionate about the UFC and fighting and being in the fight game. You mentioned me yesterday a little bit. You don't know how many you have left in the tanks. How have you enjoyed the journey in the UFC and kind of what's got you to this point where you kind of maybe seeing the end or seeing what the next steps are?
Well, it has nothing to do with how much I have left in the tank. It just has more to do with I know my worth now, and I'm just not going to go out there and fight for pennies anymore. The UFC, they don't pay their guys a lot of money, so I'm not going to go out there and put my brain health on the line, put my health, and so I'm not talking to my kids someday and I'm slurring words when I'm in podcasts someday.
Sure.
I'm not going to risk that for the little money that they get, There's no doubt about it. I love my country. I love fighting. I love to win, but I know my worth, and I'm not going to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, CTE is a real risk. There's no question. John Jr. and I had a friend who owned Sika Clothing at one point, and then owned Kuyu. It was Jason Harrison. He committed suicide, and it was attributed to CTE. CTE is a huge thing. And hats off to you for acknowledging it and knowing that it's there, and you don't want to be one of those guys that's holding your kids and can barely hold your kids, after being, the champ.
Yeah.
So, definitely something to be mindful of. But this has been a wild ride for you, and I did some research into you last night. I mean, wrestler, MMA, champ, White House. Where does it go from here?
keep breaking the boundaries. You know, no one's ever went to the White House, so I'm the first one to ever do that. You know, now I'm going to be the first fighter to ever go to Fleet Week up in New York, go support the Marines and the troops. I'm a big supporter. Not only am I a huge supporter of our country, our president, but I'm also a huge supporter of our troops. You know.
And you were on a call. That's why you were laid here with the troops, right?
Absolutely. I was on a call with the Marines and the Navy this morning, on a conference call, getting our schedule, and they were debriefing me with everything I'm going to be doing, from going on an Osprey to going on the USS New York up there and staying on the US New York overnight with Navy troops. So, and then, you know, the whole 9 yards. All week I'm going to just be hanging out with troops, doing demos and seminars with troops, and, you know, just showing my support for them, because I wouldn't be able to have the opportunities I have, and they wouldn't be afforded to me without them and the sacrifices they make. So,
absolutely, all of us. I mean,
exactly.
And everybody has different reasons. You know, did you ever want to join the military? Did you ever think about it?
Yeah, for sure. My grandfather served in the Korean and Vietnam Wars, so, you know, I always thought about joining the military before I got into fighting.
Sure. And, you know, of course, things come up. Like, I know for me, you know, the opportunity to go play football, I went to college, and when I got out, I was like, fuck that. I don't want to take orders from anybody. You know, I don't want to be told when to eat and how to eat. But then, you know, something came up for me personally, and I got a chance to go to the police academy, and I was, like, very grateful for that and very mindful for that. You know, and, you know, everybody does some public service on some level, and this is your form of service and giving back in many ways, you know. Yeah. So you got to be excited about that. In between the fights, let me ask you this, champ. Beyond training, what do you do for fun?
I like to, you know, I'm such a competitor that anything that involves competition, I love to do. So I've been really getting into Texas Hold'em poker.
Oh, nice.
Go up to the Hard Rock Casino, play some Texas Hold'em tournaments or cash games, and really like it.
That's badass. So you get out there, you do some of that. You ever get out and shoot? You like shooting?
I do like to shoot, but I don't get out as much as I would like to. You know.
Yeah, you're in the gunshine state. You gotta do something.
But it's not like where I come from. I was in Oregon, so like you can go out in the mountains and shoot anywhere on private property, this and that. Here it's like we're in Florida. There's no mountains. There's nowhere to escape.
It's a very liberal gun state in terms of you can carry, you can do all that. Concealed carry licenses are pretty easy. But yeah, you're right. It's not like when I was in Montana. You can pretty much go shoot anywhere, so you don't have those opportunities. But you share good relationships with a lot of Oregonians. You got Cam Haynes up there. You have a lot of guys that are definitely super into the lands, and you have to be into hunting in the land. So protecting the land, the wildlife. Being an Oregonian, that's a huge thing. I mean, are you like Cam on that? Is that where you stand? Pro hunting and.
Absolutely, pro hunting, pro guns. Me and Cam have a great relationship. Every time I go back to Oregon, I get some training in with him. That guy, I've never been outworked by anybody in my life except for Cam Haynes. That guy, unbelievable. He's not human.
Yeah, he and I have gone back and forth briefly. There's very few people that I can honestly say I'm impressed by, and he's definitely one of them, man. I mean, the shit that he does every day out there running and doing it, and he has a regular everyday job too. He's like a town manager.
Which like the power plant, the local power plant in our city.
And a lot of people don't know that, and that's what blows my mind about him. It's kind of like he has an everyday job that he punches the clock on. So hats off to him, and I love what you're doing, and I know you're going to be on a tight schedule, but I know you touched on kind of where the fight game's going for you and what the next steps will be, but what would you like to see in the UFC? We talked briefly about unionization and a few things like that, and I don't know how deep you want to get into it. I know the pay thing has been a hot topic on the news lately. There was just recently the Canelo fight, and they were broadcast, kind of what he was getting paid versus other guys. Tell me a little bit about where you'd love to see that pay scale go, without getting into maybe the union thing if you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to see a more even split of the revenue. Right now, the promoter's probably taking 90 to 90% of the revenue, which is leaving 10% to the fighters. But really, that 10% is for like the top fighters. The Conor McGregors, the Ronda Rouseys, the John Jones. So I'd like to see a more even revenue split. I mean, you got football players, you got basketball guys that don't even ever see the playing field, but they're making almost $1 million a year.
Right.
Like, how is that fair? But you got world-class athletes that are top 5 fighters that are struggling to make $100,000 a year, and they're putting their livelihood on the line. So it's just not fair. I'd like to see a more even revenue split, and it's not going to happen. You got guys out there that like Ali Abdelaziz who have blocked the Ali Act, which is in court to help the fighters and unionize, but. Now those are down the drain. There's no way they're ever going to unionize, and the fighters are going to never come together. That's the only way it could ever happen, is if everybody came together and did it, but guys are happy to be UFC fighters. Oh, I get to wear my UFC fighter Reebok kit to Publix. Oh, everybody look at me. I got a UFC shirt on. I'm so cool. Look at me. But they're not thinking of their future.
Everybody practices MMA now, right? Like that's the thing.
Yeah, I train UFC, bro.
I train
UFC trainer.
And it's really too bad. Is there any retirement plan or any prolonged health care for fighters?
There's no retirement plan. There's no health care. There's, if you get hurt training for a fight, I got to go pay out of pocket. 2 fights ago, I broke my hand in the training camp. I had to go pay a couple $1,000s to get the surgery and do this and that because the UFC doesn't cover it.
So it's all out of pocket.
It's all out of pocket.
That to me is, I think the first steps need to be taken, and I'll be critical of it. I'll say it, to Dana. I think that those steps need to be taken for fighters. There needs to be some level of prolonged health care, whether it's for 10 years after fighting or up to a certain period of time, or some level of contribution to a retirement plan. Something has to be put in place. Otherwise, you are just the barbaric sport that everybody thinks you are, and you are just the barbarians. And I would call it out to the UFC right now. They need to put something like that in place for you guys, and that would be the first steps towards something that says we give a shit about what happens to you the first 5 or 10 years. Even WWE that doesn't have a union, they have the wellness policy. They have certain things in place that these guys can get the treatment and get the care prolonged after. Is that something at a minimum that you'd like to see put in place, at least a bare minimum?
Yeah, at a bare minimum, that should be, a given. These guys, look, we got to go. The only way to train for a fight is fight each other. So there's going to be a lot of injuries in this sport. So to not have at least like a basic health care or retirement package is just, it's
something that
ludicrous.
says, hey, at 5 years you get this, at 10 you get that. And whether it's, I think at the bare minimum, there should be at least 10 years of health care after you retire from fighting. If you fought, say, a minimum of 10, 20 pro fights, whatever the standard is, champ, they should put something in place that speaks to that. I think that that's fair, and that's something that should be put in place. Whether or not it ever will is another story.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think you'll see it in your lifetime?
No chance. 0% chance. We found out that this isn't about the fighters. This is business. This is about the UFC's business. They showed with their sponsor how they took away all the sponsors and screwed all the fighters and the sponsor. We saw that they don't care about us. And then now they're taking away all the pay-per-views. They're putting on a subscription service, and then ESPN give them all the money, but the fighters will never see a dollar of that. So they don't care about this. This isn't about the fighters and what the fighters do. This is about the business and the way the business is moving. And they don't care about the fighters.
I think 3 things they could put in place tomorrow, which would be open architecture for sponsors, some level of prolonged health plan, and at least a basic retirement package.
Yeah.
At 10 fights, you get an annuity that pays out this at 55, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Something that's at least very basic. It doesn't have to make guys rich, but at least give them a few dollars in their pocket to take care of themselves and those they love beyond the mat, when that time comes. And that's a reoccurring theme. I know your time's super sensitive. Where, kind of you're training here with Gregory, I know that. That's not a secret. You've been training here at the Knockout Zone. Where else are you trying to improve your training, and where are you trying to take it to the next level? You're working on your ground game, you're working on your striking, you're working on your kicking. Where does it go from here? How do you round it out? And when's the next fight?
Yeah, well, my number 1 gym and supporter is American Top Team. My ATT, baby. Best gym in the world. And my agent, Dan Lambert, who runs American Top Team, big MAGA and Trump supporter, he actually went to the White House with me. We took his private jet out to the White House, and got to see Trump together. So, he's my biggest supporter, and he does whatever it takes for me to improve. He brings in and flies in training partners. He gets me the best coaches that money can offer, and that's where my training is going to the next level. And now we're just getting ready to unify our belts. I got a belt. This guy, Cameron, Marty Fake Newsman is what we call him. He's got a belt, so we got to unify the belts. And now it's just a matter of when he stops faking injuries, because right now he's faking injuries. He's telling the UFC, oh, I'm hurt, I'm this and that. But really, he's just trying to find another contender to fight because he doesn't want to fight me. He knows he can't beat me. So
he's running, he's ducking.
He's running, he's ducking. He's doing the whole 9 yards. So it's looking like hopefully we'll get to unify the belts July 27th in Madison Square Garden. And if it doesn't happen there, then maybe August 17th in Anaheim, California.
Hey, I want to be there either way, champ.
Let's do it, baby. Front row.
Yeah, absolutely.
With Don Jr.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So, last question. This is a hot one lately. Ben obviously has kind of kicked this into the forefront. Is grappling? I know you have a wrestling background. Is grappling and wrestling the premier piece in the MMA puzzle? Everybody talks about what's the best, and the Gracies kind of proved jiu-jitsu has a prominent place. But is grappling taken over and wrestling taken over?
Unquestioned, wrestling is the number 1 background you can have. within 6 months of me coming out of Division I college wrestling, I was out schooling black belts in jiu-jitsu, and it wasn't even competitive. Just the way we learn our hips, the mental toughness they teach us through years and years of training, it's unmatched. None of these other martial arts develop that type of mental strength and mental toughness. So, you know, wrestling is easily the best martial art you can have. I mean, it dictates where every fight can go. You know, instantly when you go in a fight with a high-level striker, they're thinking, oh, I don't want to get taken down. So they're not a high-level striker anymore. They turn into an amateur-level striker. So, you know, in my opinion, wrestling is the best base to have.
It's been a super hot topic.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Ben kind of brought it to the forefront. You talk about it, but it's something, you know, I went out and I kind of got an opportunity to roll with some guys that were prominently in a wrestling background, and I'll tell you, those sons of bitches are fucking tough.
Yep.
And they are tough to take down, and they're tough to roll with. And they might not necessarily know all the submissions and the chokes, but they're right there, you know, and it's scary to kind of roll with those guys, and they have an insane amount of strength.
Yeah,
insane
strength and cardio, you know?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, it's been wild, and it's been awesome talking to you, and I know everybody's going to go nuts with the comments on this stuff and be in and out of here. What do you want to leave the folks with, Champ? I mean, you know, what is it about you and the whole MAGA thing and you know, UFC, you know, give the folks something that kind of gives you some insight into what makes you tick and what makes you the champ that you are, and the people's champ, and where that comes from.
That's right. You know, I'm the man of the people, you know. What drives me every day is greatness and my legacy, and also America, you know, just everything, you know. God bless America. I love America. I love the troops. I love our president, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep winning and keep, you know, giving my platform to those three things, you know, the president, America, and the troops. Those are what drive me every day. Those are what get me up at 5 a.m. to do, you know, 6-mile runs, and then come in here and do 10 rounds of Muay Thai, and then go to wrestling practice later tonight. Those three things drive me every single day. So, you know, people can say what they want to say about me. They can hate me. They can love me. But I love my country. I love my president. And I love our troops. And that's all I want people to know about me.
And just so you guys know, before I let him go and let him go train, the motherfucker came in here, the champ came in here in Stars Stripes or Stars shorts.
Right,
he's got his USA socks on. I ripped off his mic. He's got all his shit on, USA, and he's ready to go. So
American dream.
So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the champ. I appreciate him. I appreciate him coming on. And I want to take a minute to thank all the sponsors in the Knockout Zone. I know the Knockout Zone has been huge for you, Diego, Gregory, everybody in here. So I want to thank everybody out there. Thank everyone for taking the time to spend 20 minutes with me and with the champ. It's been awesome. I want to thank Diego. I want to thank Gregory for letting me steal him for a few minutes. And, of course, thank the champ.
My man.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And to everybody out there, remember to like and subscribe. Remember to tune in. Thank you, guys. Stay tuned. Remember, watch the champ, the people's champ, coming up. And I'll talk to you guys soon.